Welcome everyone. Great to be here once again for the Daily Creative Challenge. More importantly, the Photography Daily Creative Challenge. For those of you who are new, my name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe, and it's my pleasure to be streaming to you live from rainy, not sunny, rainy Atlanta, Georgia here. I'm remote doing my Daily Creative Challenge, and great to see so many of you already in the room. I see Valder, Claire, Camilo, Sam, Victoria, Prashant. Welcome everyone that if I didn't call your name. And also if you're watching this on the replay, if you're watching this after the fact, thanks for taking the time to tune in after and getting caught up on our Photography Daily Challenge. So once again, I'll explain how this works for those that are new, and then we'll dive right into today's challenge. We'll also take a look at some of the entries that were done from yesterday's challenge. And for those of you who are new, this is ongoing until next Friday. So you still got another week. And if you missed some of the challenges, if you're just starting, you can get caught up on those as well. So I'm going to walk you through that process. All right, so I'm here on my desktop. I'm looking at the same page you're probably looking at here on Behance. And more importantly, if you go to behance.net/live/Adobe Live, then you'll be able to get to the challenge URL. So it's just really behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. Once you click on that, that will allow you to go into the challenge itself to sign up for it. Each day you'll receive the daily challenge. You can join the community chat, which by the way, most of that occurs here on Behance live. But outside of being on Behance, it's actually a part of being on Discord. So if you don't have Discord, if you haven't set that up yet, go ahead and create a free account there. You can do it on your mobile devices, or you can do it on your desktop in a browser. And this is where we hold the conversations after we're not live anymore. So that's where it's going to happen. All right, and then of course you watch our live stream, which is what you're doing right now. And then finally you share your work. So the challenges get unlocked each day. You have the ability to download the file. You have the ability to watch my live stream if you didn't know quite how to do the challenge. Yesterday was all about geometry adjustments. Before that, we did the crop tool. Before that, we did importing into Lightroom and some basic edits. Today, it's all about creating black and white photos, which may sound simple, but there's some art to it. So we're going to get into that as well. All right. So with that, let's take a quick look. I think I have a second or two to look at some of those entries. I'm going to go to my Behance page, and I'm going to do a search for the hashtag you should be using, which is hashtag Photoshop Daily Challenge. And that will bring up the daily challenges, and I see a couple already. So here's one from, this one's ongoing. So this is the perspective adjustment. Ooh, I like the little animation there. I've already appreciated this one. And I'll add this one to my mood board for the daily challenge. So this is one way to do it, is just upload your content to Behance, your final images, and I will see them and appreciate them there. But the other way to get feedback is to head over to Discord. Once you sign in, click on Photoshop, and then you can go to the current challenge and upload your work there. So that's where we are right now. And I don't know why I'm not scrolling though. Let's go past challenge, go back. Oh, there we go. My scroll wasn't working for a second. All right, but here are some of the challenges that are ongoing. So some of these are from other streamers doing composites. Some of these are my daily challenge using, for example, yesterday's geometry. So there's a mixture of content to look at. And of course, you can upload your work here, get feedback. This is where I'm checking most of the work each day. And you guys are doing a great job. Look at that geometry work there, that tower or that iced over waterfall. Looks like it was leaning over. Straighten that up very nicely. I would just, if that's not a crop, I'd go ahead and do a crop there as well. And now we're going to dive into some black and white. So I'm going to switch over to, that's another amazing geometry with a composite. Love that. And those are cool too. All right. I can look at that all day, but we're going to switch over to Lightroom, where we're going to work on today's black and white. So once again, this could be in Lightroom Classic. It could be in the new Lightroom, the cloud-based version. So it doesn't matter which version of Lightroom you're going to work on, or if you're not a Lightroom person, you can also do this in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop as well. Now let's go ahead and switch back over to Lightroom first. I'm going to work in Classic, and we're going to hit the Develop module. If you were in Lightroom Cloud, you would just hit the Edit button, and in either place to do a black and white. Well, if we go back, way back to when black and whites, first came out on a computer, it was just literally getting rid of all the color. So you could do that with a keyboard shortcut on your computer. Just hitting the letter V, as in Victor, just removes all the color. There, boom, it's black and white. And if that's all you ever do, then you're really not taking advantage of the newer technologies for what you can do with that black and white. So yes, technically, that converted my color image into a black and white, but there is so much more you can do. So let me go back to color. Let's do some things that we've already learned how to do first, and then we'll get into the black and white. So the first thing, as I always tell people, I do my lens correction first. Just to look at how much of a difference that makes on that image. Just takes all the curvature, and even see some of the curvature in that building being removed right there on the spot. So that's the first thing. Second thing we'll do is head up and we'll go to our basic panel. I'm just going to hit auto adjust just to, see what auto does. The shadows are still being clipped a little more than I would like, so I'm just going to adjust the blacks in that histogram there to kind of pull out that shadow detail a little bit better. And because this is mostly a landscape slash travel slash cityscape, I can add a little bit more texture to it, add a little bit more clarity to it, add a little bit more vibrance to it. Oh, sorry.
Someone is at the front door.
Someone's at the front door. All right, let's make sure we're on Do Not Disturb as well. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, the next thing we'll do is do a geometry adjustment, because this is one of the images we talked about yesterday with the buildings leaning in. And again, once you see that, you can't unsee it. So we'll go in and do our transform, and we'll just do an auto upright on this image to straighten out those buildings. Okay, so now we're better prepared for our black and white. So I'm going to close the transform panel, and I'm going to go in and go into my color, my HSL, my color panel. There we go. So at this point, I could go to black and white just like I did before. So I could go in and I could say, oh, let me see everything that's here. I could go to black and white just by hitting the sorry, I'm just being distracted by some things I hadn't really paid attention to before. But I can go to my black and white first by hitting the letter V as in Victor, just to switch that over to a black and white mix. Now that I'm there, now that I've hit the V as in Victor to make it black and white, again, we have some controls. Now you'll see a bunch of sliders here, and the sliders represent the original colors in the photo. So it knows that those trees were green, it knows that the sky had some blue in it, it knows all the colors that were there. But looking at it in black and white, you may not remember which color was which, especially when you're looking at things that aren't obvious. Like, I don't remember what those stones were. I don't know if they had any color in them or not. I don't know what that person was wearing. I don't know what that person was wearing. I don't know what colors are there. So what you can do is over here on the panel, there's this little target icon, and it says adjust to black and white. So if you click on that, that's called a targeted adjustment. And if you click it, then you can come over to the actual image, anywhere in the image itself, and you can drag up and down on a element like a tree or a building or a person or the clouds, and it will adjust. It'll figure out what color that used to be and adjust the colors. Even though there's no more color, it adjusts your black and white. So for example, if I pull up or down, I see that it's affecting the green slider. Now I could have just gone over and moved the green slider to affect the greens, but this is for if you don't remember which colors were where. So that allows me to bring out some more, just more detail in those leaves, because I'm adjusting the greens in my black and white. Same thing, I can still take that target up to the sky, and I can adjust whatever colors the sky were. So it will adjust that color. Now keep in mind, it's a targeted adjustment for the color, not for the object. So if there was a person wearing a blue shirt and you're adjusting blue clouds, it's going to adjust both blues. It just is looking for blue. It's not looking for a shirt or a sky or a cloud. So this is allowing me to adjust it. Now, I notice one thing, that if I pull it down too far, you notice around that building over here on the right, I'm starting to get a halo. Halos in photos are bad. So whenever you start to see a visible white line or just artifacts in your photo, you know you've gone too far with that adjustment. So I see that outline, even though I wouldn't pull it down that far anyway, but the minute I see that outline, oops, that's too far. It left a noticeable detail in it. So I'm going to pull that back up and not go down that far. That was just an example anyway. I wouldn't pull it down that far anyway because it's just too dark. All right, so I can go through my buildings, and again, that's kind of the same color. Go here. It's a slightly different color, and I can see it's adjusting the oranges in the image. I can go here to the actual element. This element, by the way, again, it's just picking up the colors. So you can go in and play around with those adjustments to get the kind of black and white you're looking for. So that is one way to do it. Now, I'm gonna jump out, and I'm gonna say, well, what if I don't want to experiment? What if I just want a cool looking black and white? And I don't know what I want until I see it, if you're that kind of person. So I'm going to do something that Lightroom Classic can do, and that is under my photo menu, I'm gonna do a virtual copy. Now, a virtual copy just simply says, make a virtual copy. Don't duplicate the file on the drive. Don't take up extra space. Just make this copy only exist inside of Lightroom. All right, so with that, it's not easy being green. I like that, Jess. So now that created a virtual copy right next to it, because then it gives me another one to play with. So I can go in and, for example, I can go back to develop. I can reset this one. Oh, I don't want to reset it all the way back though. Oh, did it just reset the color? Let's see. Oh, okay, somehow I just reset the color. But if you were trying to figure out how to do that, I don't know what I accidentally clicked on. That's the virtual copy, so I can go back to when I just converted it to black and white. So I just went into history to do that. Or maybe I hit the letter V, I can't remember. So anyway, get it back to color is what you want to do. And even if you have to reset it and do the transforms over again. But anyway, once I get it back to color, then what I can do is, instead of using the hue, saturation, lightness, and all that, I can go into my basic panel once again, because there are black and white profiles. So if I click on the profile browser, which is this little grid of squares there, that little icon, that'll bring up the browser, and I can click on black and white, and that'll show me all the black and whites. And more importantly, it lets me hover till I find one I like. So I can hover over them to get the different looks that are there. And these are all different black and white profiles that are now built into Lightroom and Camera Raw. So I kind of like this black and white number 9. So I can click on that one, and that will give me that black and white. Now, when I close this, it didn't adjust any sliders. It didn't adjust anything in the photo itself other than convert it into a black and white, and it adjusted the greens. So I can still go in and play. That can give me a better starting point than what I had before, but you have profiles to do it as well. Alberto's new here to learn this. Great. Christy, great having you. Hello. Valentine, I love it too. I like it too. Okay, so those were some Lightroom ways to do it. How would I do it in Photoshop? I use the same principle. I probably wouldn't do it in Camera Raw. Let me show you. So let's switch over to Photoshop. Photoshop, I've got the same color image. And it's just the background. Here, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go, zoom out. Instead of using, now, well, let me back up. I could go in, if I wanted the same kind of interface, I could go under the filter menu and I could come down to camera raw filter and I could do the same kind of adjustments. There we go. I can do the same hue, saturation, lightness, luminance, and do the same thing. So I can do it in camera raw just like I did in Lightroom, but I wouldn't do it that way. The way I would do it in Photoshop is I would go in under this little effects area here, this little create, there we go, create a new adjustment. And there is a, or what is that button called actually? What's the official name? The official name of that button is, there we go, add a new, no, not a mask. Create a new fill or adjustment layer. That's what I want. So I want an adjustment layer. There's a black and white adjustment layer. When I choose the black and white adjustment layer, look at what it does. It magically does the exact same thing. It creates a black and white. It brings up the same sliders. It brings up the same targeting tool. The only difference is you drag it left to right instead of up or down, which is kind of more, it makes more sense because you're going in the direction of the sliders. And you can just keep dragging it left or right, keep getting the looks you want, same way. And you might think, well, why would you do it here as opposed to doing it in the camera raw filter? Why would you pick an adjustment layer? Because doing it as an adjustment layer means just that. It's an adjustment layer. So it's a new layer on top of my background that if I ever decide I don't want it to be color or want to come back to it, I just turn it off. There we go. I turn it off. I can always click on it again and make adjustments, make more adjustments. I can copy and paste that layer into other documents that I need to be black and white. I can do all kinds of things to get this to look the way I want it to look. So adjustment layers would be my way to do it in Photoshop. Lightroom obviously doesn't have layers, so you would use the edit menu or the develop module in Lightroom to do it. So no matter which method you pick, you're going to end up with some cool results because you're going to, yeah, I like the target thingy too, Ralph. Hey, Paul Trandy's in the house, and Paul's up next, by the way, doing his masterclass. But anyway, it just depends. I would do it in Lightroom probably because, again, it's always non-destructive in Lightroom. But if I ended up in Photoshop and wanted to make the black and white here, I'd do it with the adjustment layer. Okay, let's head back to Lightroom where we were. And again, I have two versions now because I created a virtual copy that pretty much look the same. Whichever one I want to export, I could go in to my file menu, use my preset from yesterday, and I can do, or earlier this week, export DCC for a daily creative challenge, and that will make, and put it out in a different window. There we go. That will make today's adjustment, or I'm sorry, I'll make today's image that I can upload for review on Discord or Behance. All right, if I were in Photoshop, I would just go back to Photoshop and do the save for web. I was going to do the keyboard shortcut. Let me show you where it is. Export, save for web legacy. And then that lets me pick a size. So at least 1080, if not bigger, on the longest edge. And export JPEG high, save it as well. Let me put it wherever I want. Great. And either method will get you your image out for you to share for review. But virtual copies are great in Classic. Now, if again, we go back to the new Lightroom, I don't have virtual copies, but the share icon in the upper right corner lets me export it out as a small would be big enough. It's 2048 pixels on the longest edge. Great. I can choose where to export it and export it out there, and that one let me share it as well. Now, if you're looking in the new Lightroom for the profiles, let's go and scroll up. They are right here. They're at the very top, and they are also organized in categories. So there's black and white. So I can play around with the black and white profiles in either version of Lightroom to get the exact same thing. Okay, so that is how we would do a black and white in Lightroom or Photoshop. That's how I do it anyway. And let me see, I saw some questions there. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Well, and again, Michelle, that is exactly why we're doing this, so that you will learn about Lightroom, because typically these challenges have just been Photoshop based. But if you're a photographer and you're serious about managing your images, Lightroom is also absolutely the way to go. Now, one more tip I will share with you, since we have a couple more seconds, is that one of the other benefits, and this is one that I keep forgetting to talk about, one of the other benefits to Lightroom is that if you want to apply the same adjustments to multiple photos, you can. So you can either do it from an image that's already done, like the one that's, let's say I like this black and white. I can go back to develop. I can go to edit and copy. It will ask me what I want to copy, and I can just copy the black and white. I can say nothing else but the black and white mix, and maybe the basic tone. So those are, and the treatment and profile, because I don't know which method you use to make the black and white. But if I copy all those things and then go to other photos like these and paste, which I have to be in develop to do that, but I'll just go to paste. There we go. It will paste that black and white setting to all of those photos. So, and that works the same way in both versions of Lightroom. So the other advantage here to doing this in Lightroom as opposed to Photoshop is that you can have consistency across your images. So if I had 50 images that need to be converted to black and white, that I want them to look the same, then I would just do it once and copy paste. Or, let's undo that. Or if you select multiple images at the same time, let's say I select this one and this one and this one. When I go into develop in Classic, and this one only works in Classic, and I switch from sync to auto sync, then when I make my adjustment, we'll just use a profile really quickly because we're almost out of time. We'll just use a black and white profile. Let's say I use that one, which is too bright. No, I'm being picky. Let's say I use that one. Because I said sync, it is doing it to everything that was selected. So again, I could have 1,000 images selected and it would do it to 1,000 images at the same time. All right, so I'm gonna undo, put them back, and now they're back. So that's how fast and easy it is to work inside of Lightroom, and of course doing this to multiple images. So again, once you do your export, make sure you do the keywords for your upload. If you're uploading to Behance, hashtag PS Daily Challenge is what we're looking for on Behance, and of course, upload it to the current challenge on Discord. And I'm loving the feedback that you guys are learning stuff that you didn't know, and that's the beauty of all of this. All right, let's see if I got any left. I got time for maybe one more question. Do you batch copy or paste? I normally do the sync because I'm working in Classic, but if it was an after effect thing and I didn't have them all selected while I was making the edit, then absolutely batch copy and paste is the way to go. By the way, and also batch copy and paste now works on Lightroom on your mobile device. So if you're using Lightroom on your phone, or Lightroom on your iPad, or Lightroom on your Android device, you can do one edit, copy, select multiple photos, and do a paste even on your mobile device. All right, guys, that is it for me. Up next is going to be the one and only Paul Tranny, who is doing a masterclass for Photoshop. So if you want to learn more about Photoshop, stick around for Paul Tranny. And again, don't forget to join us on Discord so you can learn more about the community and see more challenges and learn more stuff and get feedback on your own work and get portfolio reviews and talk to experts. That is the way to go. So with that said, I am going to sign off for today. Happy black and whiting, if that's a thing. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And for that, we're going to just go on. Hey, Paul. I know you're up next, so you're probably waiting for me to stop. So I'm going to stop now. Bye, Paul. Bye, everybody.